Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome back to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Thursday. It's been a hot minute. Yes, it has been a hot minute. I think the last time I tried to actually put some kind of video together was 4 months ago. And the last time I tried to string a couple shows together was about 5 months ago. I thought it was February, but in between all that, it's been very, very sporadic. And I'm going to talk about that today. And it might cover this show, it might cover a couple of shows, I don't know. But I'm ready. I'm ready to be back. And if I get emotional, I get emotional. My tagline is it's a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. So I'm going to do my best to not hold back. So a part of what kind of happened with the perspective is it wasn't, to me, feeling fresh anymore. It wasn't feeling very informative. It was feeling kind of discombobulated, a little this way and that way. It felt like I was not being true to myself. And I think a lot of that wasn't because of the content. It was because of me, because I was discombobulated. I was a little out of touch with myself. And truth be told, last January, actually it happened on my birthday, 2023, when I did my intake for therapy, and I started therapy in February of 2023. And yesterday I graduated. So, and actually my therapist graduated me, and I'm going to explain that because a lot of people are like, well, is this a good thing? Are you okay with this? 100%. Last week I had a thought coming home on the train, and I was talking to a friend on Twitter, a very, very good friend. Follow her on, Twitter. Her handle is Starting Anew, and she does a podcast. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I can't think of the name right now, but her, she does go by the handle Jody B-E-E, Jody on Facebook. But on Twitter, you can find her handle there, and she does post a lot on Mondays. I believe she does a live podcast with other fellow mental health people, but she's been a strong force on my journey, along with a lot of other people that I've mentioned in the past. But I tend to people please, so I'm a recovering people pleaser now and a recovering overthinker. But going back to graduating from therapy, last week on the way home, I had a talk with Jody, and she asked me how I was doing. I'm like, I'm doing great. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing great, why am I in therapy? Well, I have a tendency to latch onto things when I'm comfortable. And I don't know if that's an only child thing. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just a Shelley Marie thing. Who knows? But I do tend to do that. And so because I did that, I think my therapist realized I'm not going to let go until she kind of pushes me out of the nest. And I think we both saw it coming, because she asked me, well, how do you feel about therapy? And I'm like, well, and I think she knew that because I was kind of hesitating, that I was ready. And I knew I was ready. In fact, like I said, before my appointment, I was thinking maybe this or the next appointment should be my last one for a while, because I feel like I'm ready to do this on my own, but I was really nervous. This is the longest I have ever been in therapy. The last time I was in therapy was 2017. It was 6 months of really intense hard work. And not that this wasn't intense hard work, but the one thing my therapist always noted from probably my third or fourth visit to her was that I already have the tools. I gained those tools in 2017. I implemented those tools. But in that time between then and when I started therapy again, I'd been on the really hard part of my healing journey. And that's kind of what I want to cover today is that healing journey. Everyone says, oh, the healing journey, blah, blah, blah. I'll get back to that. Okay. But it's not wrong. No two healing journeys are ever going to be the same. You can start yesterday, and someone could have started tomorrow, and in a month they might be ahead of you where you're at. But everybody's healing journey is different. It's how receptive you are to what you're being told. It's how receptive you are to changes. And I am a change resistor. You know, I mean, it's like procrastination takes on a whole new definition when it comes to change. Like, no, put on the brakes because, you know, change is hard. And when you go through any type of really upending trauma, you know, especially childhood trauma, it has, this is, remember, I am not a therapist or anything, so I'm giving my disclaimer now. This is my journey. But, like with Jody sharing hers, I have learned over the course of doing the Aloha Perspective that sharing mine has helped other people. In fact, I posted yesterday on Facebook that the Aloha Perspective was coming back, and some people were like, oh good, I've missed it. And it's like, oh. And I mean, I think there was only one comment on there, but other people texted me or messaged me, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess people did notice I was gone. And it wasn't, that's not why I left. If I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that all of you are getting the best of me. You know, I mean, I may not show up as the best of me every day, but I'm going to do my best to show up, because this is mental health. Just because I graduated from therapy doesn't mean my depression disappeared. It meant that my therapist trusts me to use these tools, implement them, and to trust myself and my process. And as I have learned to trust my process, I have learned the self-love. I have learned the self-trust, and that's been a hard one for me. I have a problem trusting myself. It is a significant problem for me, because I always feel like I'm doing something wrong. And you know what? Who cares if I am? None of us are perfect, right? I mean, we don't walk outside and go, yeah, you know, nothing bad is going to happen to me today. And you know what? Maybe it won't, because you handle it better. But if you're one of those people that goes, yeah, nothing bad is going to happen to me, and then, you know, maybe a bird craps on you or something, you're like, oh my God, how could that happen to me? I just said nothing. Because you have to feel it and you have to believe it. But the same person walking out the door doing that, like, yeah, you know what? I'm locking my door today. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. Oh, look. Oh, that's good luck. It's perspective. It's all perspective. You know, when baby siblings sent me, some things never change, right? My nose is running. Baby siblings sent me a great meme, and it says, why do I always choose to look at the positive things, you know, to look at things from a positive perspective? And it's because it's the only thing that's helped me survive. And it has. That's been a pivotal part of my healing journey. That doesn't mean that every day is, you know, sunshine and roses. Some days are just, you know, I don't want to say thunderstorms and lightning, because I love thunderstorms and lightning, but some days just feel like it is raining shit on you. And it's just kind of like, and that's when my favorite saying from my dad comes, this too shall pass. And you know, sometimes that saying can feel grating on your soul, but you have to understand that this too shall pass. You know, nothing is permanent. Things are going to happen. So anyways, over the next couple of shows, I'm probably going to refer back and forth to my healing journey. Tomorrow I am going to do Aloha Oracle Friday. It's been a long time. I know there were a lot of people that loved it. It was a perspective favorite, and I kind of miss it. So I'm gonna throw caution to the wind and just see what happens. So don't expect anything much from me in the first couple of shows on this, because I am literally getting back into form. About 5 minutes before I started this, all the butterflies just hatched inside of me and started fluttering about. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm not rambling, but I feel the nerves. And I am a little nervous because it's been so long. But it's also been it's been longer since I felt this good, and felt this good about doing this show, and felt like, you know, I had the energy to get up and to, you know, get dressed and do the things that I have to do to prepare to come on to the live. And yeah, I just see, this is my brain. Okay, so my brain is still recalibrating, all right? It's still a little kind of like, oh my God, I'm not in therapy anymore, as well as, you know, trying to figure out the rest of this healing journey. And what I mean by figuring out the rest of this healing journey is that just because I'm not going to be back in therapy for however long it takes before I end up back in therapy, I never shut the door on therapy, all right? I always maybe pull the screen door closed on it because I never know if I'm going to need it again. When I finished therapy, 7 years ago next month actually, I didn't know if I'd be back. I thought it was okay. But then as I went through my healing journey and I came towards the end of it, I got stuck because I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know, I didn't understand anything around me. Nothing made sense. And that's kind of what debilitated me in the last, probably, I would go as far as to say the last year, because I was really kind of hitting that head. I was really kind of just facing something that I didn't understand and I didn't know how to process, because there was this me that existed, but I was working to, kind of filter out all the negative stuff and to let go of all that baggage, to the point where it's like, oh gosh, how do I move forward? How do I move forward without carrying like these 1,000-pound sacks of emotions and trauma and all this other stuff? So I did find, I will say this, I may not have been doing my show for the last couple of months, almost a year to be exact when it comes to consistency, but I have been writing things down, things that I figured, hey, when I get back to the show, which was always the intention of getting back to the show, I want to share these things. So this is from the Recovery Coach in New York on Instagram. So that's her handle, the Recovery Coach NY. All right. And I put at the top, this may not be for everyone, but knowing what I know now from when I wrote this down, I think it is for everyone. If you're on a healing journey, this is something you really, really have to listen to, and something you really, really have to understand. So it says, one of the hardest things about healing is that version of yourself that you became in order to get through the war that you were presented with is also somebody that you have to let go of. See, the version of yourself that you had to be in order to survive is not the version of yourself that you can now be to continue. You have to leave that version of yourself behind. So it's a double-edged sword. You have to create someone to get through it, but once you're over that hill, you can't take that person with you. That person was for the war. So, oh, hi Elizabeth, you be well as well. And thank you. But yeah, I'm going to read that one more time. I know I kind of stumble over these, but if you notice, the book I chose doesn't exactly have straight lines. So it's kind of like, but really, let's be honest here. I always stumble over these things. Mostly, I think it's my writing. But it says, one of the hardest things about healing is that the version of yourself that you became in order to get through that war that you were presented with is also somebody you have to let go of. See, the version of yourself that you had to be in order to survive is not the version of yourself that you can now be to continue. You have to leave that version of yourself behind. So it's a double-edged sword. It really is. You have to create someone to get through it, but once you're over that hill, you can't take that person with you. That person was for the war. So one of the things I want to talk about just really quickly when it comes to that is that okay, so I'm just going to use my own example. I had been through childhood trauma, so what they would call complex PTSD, so CPTSD, and that's usually people who have struggled with trauma as children. It could be other things, but it's mostly, in my research, it's mostly referred to people with childhood traumas. And I had childhood traumas. Nobody knew about it. For anybody that might be new, nobody knew about it. Not anybody in my family, definitely not my parents. I had to really grow up very young in order to protect myself and to protect my parents because of what my trauma person had been saying to me. And I didn't want my parents to get hurt. So because, I'm an only child, so they were my everything. And that might be why I sometimes tend to latch on to things because, hi. But what I didn't think about until right now, and now it makes perfect sense, is that this person I created to get me through this healing journey had to let go of the trauma child that it was trying to protect. And in the course of understanding this warrior I had to create to fight this war for me was kind of that inner child growing up. It's like, like when you see a little kid in costumes, right? And they're just emulating their favorite superheroes. In a way, it's kind of the same idea for me. I had to create somebody to get me through this hard part, sometimes we might come off a little edgy, we might come off a little brash. And my mom always tells me, you got to watch your tone because people may not understand it. And it's like, if you know me, you know my tone. And I'm sure sometimes I probably come off like an asshole, and it's never ever intended. Excuse me. It's never ever intended. It's just, especially now, when I fight for something or when I believe in something, I will defend my position. I will not question your position. I might give you what I've read, and I might give you something along those lines, because the healing journey is a hard journey. But going back to the part of needing to create a warrior, you're kind of putting aside that traumatic or that traumatized person that you're fighting for, right? You're suddenly kind of morphing into two people. It's like you're just expanding, and this whole other person develops, and it's there to protect whatever traumatized part of you, whether you're a child or an adult. It's there to protect you while it fights for you, so you can figure out how to get better. So when we think about that, I think we get so in tune and kind of become so maybe subconsciously or unconsciously even enamored with this warrior side of us that we might forget that we don't always need to be in that persona. And you have to let that person go. I mean, and that's where I struggled on my healing journey. I struggled with letting go of that person that had fought so hard to get me where I was at. I had to, I mentioned before in old perspectives about coming up with a floof book. I finally came up with a new one. I stopped journaling in my other journal, and I started the graduated floof. I know, I love stickers, but I will always be a child at heart, guys. But I did nickname my inner child the floof. And I know for a lot of people it's cute little fuzzy animals, but I had to look at my inner floof as being a cute little fuzzy animal. And I felt very protective. But then, it almost felt like when I was journaling sometimes and I would do the meditations and I would do the shadow work, that this floof was saying, come on, get your ass rolling already. We want to get better. So it almost felt like it was a role reversal. Like this inner part of me was saying, stop procrastinating. Just, accept growth. Growth is progress. Okay. I know. And growth as progress can be a lot of things. And some people are afraid of progress. And, we like the status quo, right? We like things to stay the same because we're comfortable in it. But if you're comfortable in something, it means you're just kind of settling. You're being complacent. And I was settling and being complacent, like, yeah, okay, I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I want more for my life. I want more for me. I want more for the people around me. And because of that, I realized that I had to start letting go. And that is one of the reasons I actually ended up in therapy again, because I couldn't figure out how to move to the next level. And as you can see, it's been 1.5 years since I started that. I mean, this is a year longer than my longest therapy, which was only about 6 months. It was like March to September, like pure, like turn you inside out kind of therapy. I've talked about how sometimes I feel like I ripped off my skin and poured alcohol all over myself because it was that rough. But this one wasn't a walk in the park either, because there was a lot of truths that were pointed at me. My therapist did a wonderful, wonderful job of really guiding me through, understanding myself. And again, most importantly, learning how to trust that process. And that was the hardest part for me. Trusting myself has never been easy. But also learning that self-love, learning that self-care, that self-respect, that self-acceptance, all of those things. Plus, I've been on my kind of a weight loss journey because of my heart. And my heart's fine, all right, but that's how I want to keep it. And so, I run up against a lot of different things in this life, because it's like I have I do have a congenital heart defect that was repaired when I was a child. And like I said, I mean, I'm blowing my mind, the minds of my cardiologists and even my other doctors. Like, how have you not had a valve replacement yet? And I mean, even if I were thin, that would have been the question. Like, how is this still happening? How are you still functioning? But I am. And I'm grateful for that, knock wood. Because, like my doctor says, the longer we can keep you from having to have this done, the less pressure you're going to put on your body. But you need to lose the weight so we can keep this going. And it's like, okay, I get it. And it's not body shaming. I am a huge advocate for body positivity. I don't care what shape, size, height, whatever you are. If you are happy with yourself and you don't have to worry about medical stuff, live your life. All right. But I had to learn how to accept who I am in the body I'm in. And I will tell you right now, this has nothing to do with my size. Nothing at all. Because when I was skinny, I hated my body just as much. I hated everything about me. This is what childhood trauma does to people when you've gone through the things that some of us have gone through in this world. And that's another reason why I talk about that, because I met people when I finished that last journey. I got on Twitter and said, hey, I really want to be a mental health advocate. I really want to help people. I found out that the term for what I went through was CSA, for childhood sexual trauma or abuse. Sorry, that would be CST, right? Which is Central Standard Time. But what I mean, I just everywhere. But I found that out. And Jody really kind of took me by the hand and said, hey, I see you. And to be seen by somebody who'd been through what I'd been through, I have to tell you, it's making me emotional because it was very life-changing. And even though I'd been through therapy, that really, I think, started me on the healing journey. But there were so many other things I had to cover. So many other things. Losing my mom, losing Sissy, losing one of my friends from work. And I'll get into that down the road. I know I've talked about all these things before, but I'm not the same person I was when I did my last show. And I'm certainly not the same person I was when I started the Perspective under a different name for about a year. So I might be recovering some subjects, but I'm recovering it from who I am now. And I'm okay being this person. I am falling in love with the person that I am because I have to. No matter what shape or size any of us are, we have to learn self-acceptance. Self-acceptance and self-respect. We have to learn how to love ourselves and how to be kind to ourselves. Because when we learn how to be kind to ourselves and say nice things to ourselves, you will start to see the changes in everything around you. Everything around you. And when you find the right people, they will shame you for not doing your push-ups like you're supposed to be doing, because baby sibling started this thing. And Troy, I call him my Troy. He is my brother from another mother. He called me out in front of baby sibling yesterday. And I was like, damn, this man. I have known him since 9th grade. He has been my best friend since 9th grade. And, he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot and seen me through a lot. And, I received some of the nicest messages from him and baby sibling and even Eileen yesterday when I finished therapy. I received a lot of nice messages. I did, but they were theirs were a little elongated, and and Troy has known me all this time. I mean, he was the one that kept me on this planet in high school, and I will talk about that again later at some point. I just don't feel like right now is the time to do that. But yeah, he really is my brother from another mother. And even my dad just said, I told my dad, I said, he's all, is this a good thing? And I think so. I'm just really nervous and I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try. He's all, of course you can. So it was the shortest message, but it had such a big impact. So that's what we have to do. We have to see ourselves through. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're just watching this and you're at the beginning of your healing journey and you want to give me like 15 middle fingers and a big F you and, you're a douchebag or, screw you because you have no idea, I do know. And I'm not going to make this show a long one. I am sure they will get longer down the road. I do want to cover more of why I'm back, but I also don't want to overwhelm people by putting too much into one thing right away, because if I give you too much information, it's going to get lost. And I really want people to think about their healing journeys. I have been where you are if you were at the beginning. My healing journey is always going to have something involved in it. It's just how I handle it now and how I face it, because I do have depression. And even though I'm out of therapy, I have noticed that, my depression still comes and goes, and I have to deal with it as it does. I would love to be one of these people whose depression goes into remission. I truly believe that anybody can if they really want to, but I'm not going to lie to myself, because mine isn't just situational. Mine is also chemically induced. So it is a chemical imbalance, and I that was the hardest part on this journey, when it came to that, of having to admit to myself, because it's like, well, damn, you mean I got to deal with this for the rest of my freaking life? God, why, right? So you're just kind of like, why? But instead, why not use it to help other people and help relate to other people? So I want to talk about this one show really quick to close this out. I am a big fan of Chuck Lorre shows. He has great shows. I mean, if you live in America, and I don't know, maybe it's the same way in other countries, but in America, TBS owns the rights to The Big Bang Theory. And The Big Bang Theory, like every 2.5 months, it repeats itself, right? But the show never gets old. The show ended, I believe, in 2019. And it's 12 seasons of just delightful fun. And, even like yesterday, Sibling and I, we remembered every episode. It's like, hey, isn't this the one where blah, blah, blah. And, you don't always catch it going through, right? But I love Chuck Lorre shows. One of my favorites, though, aside from Big Bang Theory, was Mom. Hi, Jody. See, Jody's on. Jody, do me a favor since you're on right now. I talked about your show earlier, but I am so sorry. I'm just kind of getting back into form, and I couldn't remember the name of your podcast. So if you don't mind putting the link in the comments, that would be great. Okay. And then I'll also stick the link in my YouTube upload. All right. So thank you. And so what I was going to say, and thank you for coming on. Thank you for supporting me. Jody is the one that I told you guys. She's the one that initially took my hand on Twitter several years ago, about 7 years ago. She was the first one to find me when I opened up about what I've been going through. And I don't want to say that she normalized it for me, but she did for me. I didn't feel stigmatized anymore. I finally felt the way I was supposed to be. I wasn't the person that caused the trauma. I was the person that it happened to. I was the survivor. And she helped bring me from being a victim who was lost in all that trauma and that pain into being a survivor. And she has, even when she's going through her own things and she's, not doing at her, she's not at her best feeling self, she is still out there helping people and pushing them forward. And she helped push me from survivor to thriver. And I owe so much to her, and like I said, there's baby sibling, there's my bro from another mo, there's my dad. But, and I am very, very lucky to have an extensive support group. But if I were to name a captain for this, it would be her, because she's been through what I've been through. She's understood what I've been through. And she helped relate it to me and to help me understand that, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with us. We're okay. We may struggle with our emotions sometimes. Our emotions may beat the shit out of us sometimes, but we will get there. We will get there. And so I thank you for that. I truly, truly thank you for that. And like I said, I did mention you earlier, so if you can put that in the comments, that'd be great, and I'll be sure to share it. But going back to what I was talking about to close out the show, so like I said, sorry, I don't know, I hit play and my nose starts running, so clearly some things never ever change. So like I said, one of my favorite shows aside from Big Bang Theory was Mom. And Mom is about a mother and a daughter. Kind of, the mother's an alcoholic, the daughter becomes an alcoholic, her daughter kind of just, it's this whole generational thing, but it changed over time. But the one person that seemed to change the most was the show's character, Mom, which was Bonnie Plunkett, who was played by Allison Janney, wonderfully played by Allison Janney. And towards the end, I think it was the last 2 episodes, they introduced 2 characters. And one is Shannon and her mom, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, the character. But Shannon's played by Melanie Linsky. Very well done, by the way. And she goes to one of their meetings and she's like, pfft. So Bonnie chases after her. In the past, if you watch the show, Bonnie would have just been like, yeah, screw her. But Bonnie chased after her because I think in her mind, whether it was conscious or subconscious, she saw the relationship between the mother and the daughter and the fighting and all the infighting and all that other stuff. And so she sits down with the girl. She says, hey, just come have coffee. And if you don't like what we have to say, you can leave. And the girl starts sharing all this funny stuff, right? And so she almost starts to get up. Shannon starts to get up and she's like, you guys just don't understand. And every single one of them, start relating to her. Like she's all, yeah, well, I bet, you didn't fight with your mom or have problems with your mom. And of course, Marjorie, who's like the team leader, she's like the den mom of this group, says to them, yeah, I have to stand out because I had great parents. But then she's all, yeah, well, I bet you were never homeless. She's all, oh no, I'm back in now. She's all, I had been homeless. I had been in jail. I had done that. And they all had at some point been arrested for something or, just been at their lowest. And then she looks at them and she says, well, if this all happened to you, how can you all sit here and laugh about it, basically? I'm paraphrasing now. And they're all, because, it was their journey, right? They healed. And I think that was kind of the epiphany moment for the show, was that you slowly watched all these characters grow over the course of these seasons. And I know it's a TV show, but a lot of times shows are written from other people's experiences. But I bet you if you go out there, you can find people who have this small support group, who meet for coffee, who go to their meetings every day or every week or however often they feel they need to go, if they are in a substance abuse or any kind of, gambling or whatever, any kind of abuse type situation, even traumatic abuse, there are support groups. But you see the healing. And part of the healing for me, from my perspective, is knowing that you're worth it. It is absolutely knowing that you are worth the healing. You may do a lot of dumb shit in your life. You may go through a lot of dumb shit in your life. And, and I apologize for my language. This is just me. When I get passionate about something, sometimes it flies, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm done apologizing for myself. This is who I am. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of family that love me. I have a lot of people that care about me. And I see that now. Even when I'm sitting on that solo island having a pity party over something, I know that there's a little rowboat coming across that little strait going, oh my God, we're coming to get you. Maybe not that exasperated, but, or they're just saying, I'm going to sit over here on the shore until you're done. Let me know and we'll row back together. I always know someone's nearby. I always know there's going to be someone. My roommate is older sibling, and she has helped me through so much. She has been an anchor for me, a constant. She has kept me from floating away on many an occasion. Same with baby sibling, bro from another Mo, my dad, Jody, lots of people, Eileen. So, and of course my own family. My own family, everybody has a lot of things to do. Not everybody can jump on at 8:30 in the morning or sees the post later. But I am going to try to stick to relevant subjects, and I am going to try to share different things. But tomorrow, Aloha Oracle Friday will be back. So I just wanted to leave you with that little kind of, I don't think it's an anecdote, but I wanted to leave with that little example from Mom about watching two people, one at the beginning of their journey and one who has come to a place where they know they're still going to need to go to their meetings every day, but have realized how much their lives have changed and how worth it that healing journey was for them. My meetings, I guess technically would have been my therapy because it was dealing with my depression and whatnot. But I know that my therapist is very kind of, I don't want to say in your face because she's not a bad therapist, but she pushed me in ways that I'm not sure a lot of people would agree with, but she tailored my therapy around the person that she saw in front of her. And I am grateful for that because I told her, she's all, I know sometimes I might have pushed you hard a little. And I said, no, I needed that. I needed someone to remind me, hey, Shelly Marie, you're worth it. You're smart. You're, I mean, she told me, she's all, you're smart, you're pretty, you're young. Come on, when you're 51 years old and someone calls you young, you just celebrate. But, she's like, you have a whole life ahead of you still. I mean, I used to try to hide my age. I used to try to hide, who I am right in front of you. But I can't. This is me. And I'm proud of my age. And I want people to know how old I am, because I want people to know that it doesn't matter how old you are. If you have things you need to heal, do it. It's so worth it. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to cover this journey a lot more over the course of time. It may not be every day. I may do different things and I may go back to it, because I don't want to overload you with too much and be like, oh my God, pity party, because it's not a pity party. But I will leave you with this. If you are receptive to change, if you are willing to do the hard work and love yourself and find that self-acceptance and find that self-respect, your healing journey will not last 10 years like mine did. Okay? It will go by faster, but you have to accept the growth, and you have to accept the progress, and you have to accept that going into the unknown is going to be crazy AF, but it's going to be so worth it. And I resisted a lot of that change, and that's what took me so long. But in this last year and a half, I catapulted, because I had somebody who was disassociated from my particular circle who was telling me, you need to push yourself forward. I mean, she didn't say it like that. She's a little more gentle about it. But it's like, Shelly Marie, you have the tools. Why aren't you using them? Shelly Marie, you know how to do this, so why are you here? Shelly Marie, you've got this. And I love it, because I told her she could call me Shelly, but every time she called me Shelly Marie. So it's almost like talking to my mom sometimes. And trust me, I don't think my therapist was that much older than me. She was probably around my age. But she told me what I needed to hear. Not what I wanted to hear, what I needed to hear. And that was the difference. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Good morning, Eileen. I just saw Eileen's going to pop on, so I'm going to mention one more time that tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, the Aloha Oracle will be returning to Fridays. Aloha Oracle Friday will be returning, and I need to keep on track. I am pushing myself right now until this becomes normal again. But like I said, I will be talking about my journey on different occasions, not necessarily consecutively. But I just want you to really kind of think about what I've said today, because, like I said, if you're at the beginning of the healing journey and you're watching this and going, you're full of shit. It's like, I might seem that way because I've been at the beginning of your journey. I have stood where you stood, and I'm just going to go out on the limb and say this, that I am proof that change can happen, that healing can happen, and it will if you let it. Okay. Thank you, Eileen. She says, I'll be here tomorrow. So good to see you back on here. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for always encouraging me and for being there. I mentioned you a couple times too. But yeah, I mean, I have very supportive cousins. I got to hang out with my cousin Dia and her boyfriend, the week before last, and at a family thing my dad throws every year. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun catching up with her and reminding myself that, I have a large expanded group of people that I don't reach out to enough, and I probably should. So, and I know they're all busy, everybody's busy with their own lives, and I don't expect people to just drop everything for me. I absolutely don't, because most of my cousins have kids. I do not. All my cousins, have, siblings, in one respect or another. I do not. I have to adopt my siblings, but I do have a large support group, and I think it's good to have a large support group, because if you have 5 people and 4 of them are busy, one of them might not be. So that's always good to have. All right. So hi, Stephen. Good morning. So anyways, I will see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch. I will eventually move them to the Aloha Perspective, but I need 100 followers on there first before I can go live. So for now, they're going to be under Shelly Marie Lucas, or you can catch them on the replay on YouTube. So, Stephen, have a wonderful day. Eileen, Jody, have a wonderful day. I I don't know if school started for Steven, but boy, his oldest, God, Sissy Joe's brother and her nieces and nephews, God, they got to be starting school soon. But the oldest one, I'm telling you, Savannah's really starting to look like her auntie. So anyways, yeah, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for welcoming me back. Have a great day.